Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money channel. And XRP keeps dropping and dropping and dropping. Unfortunately, right now we're trading in and around 48 cents. So yesterday we were closer to 49 cents. But you guys can see here, we've just seen a cascade price moving down and really just testing this the edge of this wedge here, the trend line that I've plotted on the XRP chart. But guys, I have a feeling the next few months we are going to see more bearish activity, but you have to really understand where we are and why we're trading. And I know sometimes it can be hard if you are new to the XRP community. We talk about all this stuff, real world adoption, utility, mass adoption, etc., etc. And I think XRP Temple here explains it quite well. While we're in a speculative market, guys, this is for the entirety of crypto. And, by and large, whether it's a crypto with utility or a crypto without utility, it kind of doesn't matter. We tend to look at other factors that will drive price in a spec market. So speculative announcements of settlement, XRP registered on all exchanges. The time frame there, 2023 to 2024, I would say even into 2025. And, he's saying here a pessimistic price range versus an optimistic price range in a spec market. I would even temper these numbers down to, the $10, maybe down to $7, maybe even $5. And a real optimistic number, $10 to $15. Now that would be in a spec market and a spec market alone, but that's not to say that we won't see some of these other things coming down the pike in the meantime, like a transition, the launch of Bitcoin ETFs, Ripple ITO and banking partners, limited spread tokenization assets, ISO 20022 completed. So this is going to happen over the next few years into the coming decade. And I do really think we will see real XRP price appreciation when these things occur and when everything is really utilized at scale, right? Utility and mass adoption, global CBDC integration, widely spread tokenized assets. And he's saying 2026 through until 2030. I say 2030 and beyond, and that's when we will see a high-priced XRP. I mean, who knows how high it could go? I mean, I don't even know, maybe $1,000 is still going to be too little to facilitate a lot of these transactions. So part of this crypto trading strategy, guys, is knowing where we stand and knowing what we have to do at this point. I just posted the second part of the roundup of my $10,000 plus portfolio. You can find it over there at patreon.com/workingmoneychannel. And for only $5 a month, you can follow me. I'm going to be posting my trades, this trading journey, and the bears taking over at this moment. But guys, I look at this as an opportunity. We've got Bitcoin here also trading lower relatively at about 26,700. So market basically moving with Bitcoin. The narrative is still fairly negative out there. Caroline Ellison did have her day in court the other day, and we're getting more news from the court hearing. Caroline Ellison and SBF conspired to keep Bitcoin under $20,000. Now, these guys had a lot of power and, power to manipulate. Former Alameda Research CEO and ex-girlfriend of SBF, Caroline Ellison, testified Wednesday that Sam Bankman-Fried conspired to sell Bitcoin to artificially suppress prices below $20,000. Appearing in FTX criminal fraud trial on Wednesday, Ellison said SBF directed Alameda to dump BTC acquired from FTX customers' funds to stabilize price. So he was doing, according to Ellison, he was doing everything going against the book. Ellison admitted to improperly using FTX customer deposits to cover Alameda debts, also at SBF's behest, totaling around $10 billion in customer funds, guys. 10 billion with a B, that's not million. That is billion. So the negative news narrative obviously playing a part in why we're seeing the market go down. Not only that, Autism Capital here also mentioning Caroline Ellison of FTX admits that Sam Bankman-Fried bribed Chinese officials with $100 million to unfreeze their assets, purposely tried to scam Saudi investors in the final days of FTX, intentionally tried to sic regulators on Binance to destroy his competition. And it's only lunchtime at this point. Boy, what I would give to be sitting in and listening to this testimony. CoffeeZilla posting this, final thoughts on Caroline Ellison at the moment she broke down in tears. Devastating for Sam Bankman-Fried. CoffeeZilla was in on the hearing. Listen to this.
Here at the trial of Sam Bankman-Fried, we just saw Caroline Ellison take the stand for the second part after lunch. She broke down in tears saying, quote, "I had a sense of relief I didn't have to lie anymore. I could start taking responsibility. I feel indescribably bad for all the people who trusted us." I think it probably moved the jury. I know in the room where I was at, you could hear a pin drop. She was bawling. First real show of emotion we've seen from her. And I think it really reached a lot of people. She then testified to the fact that meanwhile, Sam Bankman-Fried was making statements that they only had enough money to cover 1/3 of client holdings, while publicly saying they had enough money to cover everyone. So he would continue to lie as she started to break down. So is it convenient for her to say this now? Yes, but I think it's devastating to the point Sam Bankman-Fried has, where he says, I didn't know about any of this. I think she destroyed any last hope he had.
So, I mean, it's not looking good for them, and by extension, not looking good for crypto as a whole. Remember, guys, this is a distraction technique to get us to doubt our internal instincts to accumulate more cryptocurrency. And I want to just remind you guys too, I know it seems pretty commonsensical, but the better our entries are, the more profits we're going to make. Remember, guys, this is just part and parcel to the crypto trend that is mirroring that of 2019, right? In 2019, I don't quite remember what the narrative was, but it doesn't matter. At this point in time, we saw the market decline. I think it was roughly 50%. It did go down 53%, and I'm not going to even include that beer flu black swan event. 53% from this top here. So where we are today, this is still, I got to say, we're only down about 15%. If we were down 50, we would be going back down to the lows of December 2022. So, I mean, I don't know how the market's going to hold up. I'm not saying we are going to go down 50%, but it is something to keep in mind. Wanted to thank CoffeeZilla and Autism Capital there and Watcher Guru just for posting these updates. Now, JP Morgan, guys, has introduced its own blockchain-based tokenization platform. This courtesy of Scott Melker, the Wolf of All Streets. This application was developed in-house and recently settled its first trade asset for management heavyweight BlackRock. So they are now going on the record saying we have created our solution, their copycat solution to RippleNet. TCN leverages blockchain technology to allow investors to use traditional assets as collateral more efficiently. In the inaugural transaction between JP Morgan and BlackRock, shares of a money market fund were tokenized and transferred to Barclays Bank as security for an over-the-counter derivatives exchange. So they've clearly been working on this around the clock, and it was initially tested back in May of 2022. But I love some of the comments down here. ADA Whale, I love the idea of banks thinking they'll just copy the technology and run away with the victory. Not today, Satan. That actually made me LOL this morning. But I mean, yeah, here you can see a prime example of where the big bankers, what the big bankers were doing while Ripple was in court, spearheaded by their pal Gary Gensler. Down here, Kay saying, they were never skeptical. They've been working for years on this. They were just trying to hoodwink people so they could convince regulators to cut down potential competitors. So yeah, that whole narrative, crypto bad, we don't want to be using it. All cryptocurrencies are securities. Let's give Ethereum a free pass. It's all part and parcel to what the big banks were doing behind the scenes the whole time. And now JP Morgan just happens to come out with this new technology. But I mean, copying the technology, is it really superior? I highly doubt it. Let's not forget the XRP ledger has been in existence for over a decade now, and Ripple has been working around the clock to secure big banking partnerships globally. So they can try as much as they want. I'm sure they'll use this technology for a bit until something else comes up, and then they have to adapt, they have to modernize. But, when you're in the blockchain business, when you're in the business of developing distributed ledger technology, you will always have the upper hand. And the banks connected to the companies like Ripple who specialize in this kind of technology are going to be the ones that have the upper hand moving forward. That's just, my opinion on that. But nevertheless, guys, this is what JP Morgan has decided to do. Wanted to thank Scott Melker for pointing that out. XRP drops. Also bringing this to our attention, guys, a recent report from Tranglo connecting your business to the world via Ripple's ODL. So they just recently came out with their 2023 report. The report, produced by FinTech News Network in partnership with Tranglo, said e-payment transactions increased by 31.5% from 7.2 billion in 2021 to 9.5 billion in 2022. Each Malaysian could have made 291 e-payment transactions in 2022, on average, indicating cashless payment methods were gaining traction over cash-based payments. The country's recorded 798.5 million cash withdrawals from ATMs in 2022, below pre-pandemic levels. Check usage declined to 46.1 million in 2022 from 48.3 million. Meanwhile, 68.9% of credit and debit card-based transactions were contactless in 2022 compared to 64.6% the previous year. So we can definitely see a growing trend here. And note this, guys, highlighting Ripple specifically in this report. Our class-leading cross-border payment solutions are simple to use and have unparalleled scalability and security. Ripple, the only company listed in this report. Of course, we know Ripple and Tranglo, a tight partnership there. And also, just wanted to mention this too from XRP Drops here on Twitter. The Malaysian fintech map in 2023, 308 fintech companies, all connected to this ecosystem. And of course, I'm not going to spend the time to list them all, but I will link this in the description if you guys are interested to just take a look at some of these and how many of them are already Ripple enabled, Ripple partners. It really is amazing, once you do go through the list, how many you do realize are already connected to RippleNet and XRP technology. So I wanted to thank XRP Drops for posting that. Raoul Pal recently made an appearance on Tony Edwards' Thinking Crypto podcast. Raoul Pal talks about Gary Gensler on playing politics and the law, and it's looking as though it is backfiring on the SEC, at least according to Raoul Pal. Listen to this.
Going back to Gary Gensler and the SEC, taking a lot of losses. When the Ripple situation, XRP intrinsically not a security, obviously depends on how it is offered. Grayscale taking a loss there. They're suing Coinbase. I don't think that's going to go well. What were your thoughts on the outcomes of these lawsuits? And do you think Gary Gensler has much time in office or he's going to get kicked out?
Well, once you start conflating politics with legal precedent, that's when you realize that's when you start losing cases. So they're doing it for politics, and the court is throwing it out for the right reasons, which is this is not legal. So I think there's a bunch of these. I'm sure the SEC will win a couple here and there, but they're not going to win these big cases. I mean, I've always said the sheer number of smart people and the amount of money in this space that is focused on these issues is gigantic. The government is up against something much bigger than picking off an investment bank. You're picking off people who are super motivated by what this space represents and where it's going. And the people in the space are literally the smartest people in the world. So they don't go to fight without knowing that they're coming with a bazooka to that fight. While the SEC is treating it like it's a bunch of cowboys. They have no real understanding of who they're up against. This is a cultural phenomena they're trying to fight with people who are highly motivated to win.
And so, yeah, I think the SEC ultimately underestimated the crypto space, just thinking we were a bunch of fraudsters, hucksters, cowboys, whatever Gary Gensler called us. The space is full of motivated people, as Raoul Pal says, a lot of money in this space. And let's not forget, the people that got into cryptocurrencies way back in 2013, Bitcoin. Let's not forget, guys, Bitcoin has gone up how many percent since 2013? Let's say you got into Bitcoin even at the top of this market over here. Okay, let's say you even bought at the top in 2013. By 2021, your Bitcoin investment went up almost 27,000%. So you got to think, especially when Bitcoin was only trading at about $230, give or take. So there's a lot of money in this space, a lot of motivated people to keep this space moving. And when you have money and motivation, well, it's going to be difficult for the SEC to combat that. So that's good for us. Again, just going back to the fact that, we're still in that speculative space. But that transition is coming. We are finding more applications for cryptocurrencies, and companies like Ripple are doing just that. ACI just put out a recent statement on their website, but Ripple Van Winkle noticed this. Okay, probably not a big deal, XRP community, but check this out. ACI and Swift, we know ACI is a confirmed Ripple partner. So what do they have to do with Swift? ACI supports around 9% only of global Swift traffic and approximately 30% in the United States. ACI offers services to banks around the world waiting to connect and leverage Swift's GPI. ACI also supports real-time schemes around the world, meaning that any bank can use real-time payment systems to support Swift GPI, example through Ripple's DLT technology. So they mentioned that there. Also note this, guys, from Chad Steingraber here. ACI is Swift compatible. The provider name ACI worldwide here, application name and version ACI Money Transfer System. And they've labeled it compatible with the Swift compatible application, Swift GPI label. So more evidence here to suggest that, we are going to see, a lot of this Swift utility now go through a secondary provider, which will or could, in fact, leverage DLT technology, which probably they will just because it is more efficient. Why would you use the old system if you are now tapped into the new system? And I think, Ripple knew this at the beginning. If we can get the partner providers, the ones that already have those partnerships with Swift, get them onto DLT technology, we make it interoperable, well, it's a win-win for everybody, but ultimately more utility will be going through the Ripple network and more demand will be driven to the XRP cryptocurrency. So some interesting insight here from Ripple Van Winkle. Wanted to thank him for posting that. And Mr. Mann also bringing this to our attention. How do you say RippleNet without saying RippleNet? This was a conference from the Digital Pound Foundation. We know Ripple's already a member, but down here we have Laura Douglas, guys, commenting on this. And so just to give you guys a sense of who she is, Laura Douglas, Senior Associate at Clifford Chance, so a law firm, but she specializes in advising financial institutions and other market participants on financial market regulation with a particular focus on payments and fintech regulation, regulatory aspects of structured financing transactions, and the implementation of regulatory reform measures. Laura also has expertise in advising on regulatory parameter issues, regulatory licensing, post-trade activities, including clearing and settlement services, and M&A involving financial institutions. So how do you say RippleNet without saying RippleNet?
Solution that also fits in with the risk appetite of regulated FMIs like the banks.
I think, Laura, you also had some thoughts on innovative applications in the payments and cash management and liquidity management space.
Yeah, so maybe along similar lines to what Shreya, you've been saying. But if you think about sort of, digital settlement assets as a sort of, a kind of used in payments and, how are payments and what sort of needs are there, particularly say around sort of treasury liquidity management in payments, I think you can potentially see some use cases, advantages to having, a technology and system where, you can use smart contracts and, thinking about sort of liquidity management, kind of, zero balancing and all of those kinds of products that are out there today to help corporate groups and others kind of manage where are their funds sitting, how are they working most efficiently. Again, I think you can see advantages potentially for the technology to just make that more efficient, more automated, rather than potentially relying on, Swift messages going one way saying how much is in this account coming back. And, that's quite a manual process that you could foresee, becoming much more automated and efficient, not necessarily just because of sort of digital ledger technology, but also the ability to have sort of programmable smart contracts involved in the system too.
So programmable smart contracts, well, we know the Hooks Amendment is being developed, continuously developed on the XRPL system to compete with that of Ethereum. But not only that, guys, we have to remember how important liquidity management is. Laura Douglas also mentioned liquidity management, and Ripple says, first and foremost, XRP has to be liquid in order to facilitate these payments, so far such that they've had to create new products like the Liquidity Hub in order to facilitate that. And, even here they say, they want to maximize crypto liquidity. And they even mention liquidity management here. They want to eliminate complex liquidity management by using tools in order to help this new financial system really work. So Laura Douglas essentially saying RippleNet without saying RippleNet. Also, they're saying how you can't really just trust that a transaction going through Swift is going to be efficient enough, too clunky. So, again, just back to this ACI connection to Swift, but also outlining DLT technology through Ripple. Guys, the industry is changing, so do not let the fear, uncertainty, and doubt take hold. Make sure you know where you stand. This too shall pass. And quite frankly, these opportunities to buy at low prices are what I'm going to be eyeing over the next few months. That's just my opinion, though. I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.